Hello everyone, welcome to my part 4 of AZ 104 Administrator course. Today we're talking about creating Azure Active Directory users. What are Azure AD users? What types of Azure AD users exist? What are some methods of creating those users? And what are users like in the Azure AD architecture? And how do we create and delete and manage the users in Azure Active Directory? So let's start with the first question. What are Azure AD users? Azure AD users are the identities of an Azure AD tenant. By default, all members have default permissions. These identities are JSON objects like this example I put here. Here is my friend Muhyiddin, and this is a JSON block. And we can see some properties here. I just kind of threw them in. For account enabled, it shows it's true, so his account is enabled. The department he's in is IT. That could be a tag that we created just to manage users. And for the given name, we created him as Muhyiddin. And the user type is members. And that's one of the types of users. And that's what we're going to get into in the next slide here, which is the types of Azure AD users. The first user we got is the administrators. So administrator are member users that have been assigned an administrative role that provides elevated access. Two roles have the ability to manage identity resources in an Azure AD tenant. So these two roles are the global administrator and the user administrator. And now our other member type is what Muhyiddin was set up to be. Is a native member of the organization that has default access to do things like manage their identity properties like the phone number, the location, or the email. Members users can invite guest users, but that feature can be disabled by the global administrator or the user administrator. And that brings us to the guest users. Guest users are identities that have been invited to collaborate within an organization. So guest users are invited using an external identity like their work email. And now, how do we create these users? There's three methods. We can use the Azure portal to navigate to the Azure AD service and go to the users and create a user. We can go to the Azure CLI where we can do create user commands like the one listed below, which is a bash command. Or we can use PowerShell. And there's some other methods like SDKs, but we're not going to get into those in this video. Now that we understand the user types, let's take a look and see how they fit into the Azure AD architecture. In this example, we have a global administrator because when we created our account, those primary credentials that we used became the identity object of our global admin. We created another user and gave them administrative role of user admin. This means that both of these users can create identity resources and manage them inside of this Azure AD tenant. We create other users, and these users will have access to maybe some resources that are in a subscription, but first we need to establish a trust relationship with our Azure AD tenant in our subscription. So now we can create other users that will have access to resources that will provide them to have access inside of our subscription. So what are the key points? The key points is it's the roles that we provide that will allow the identity objects in our Azure AD tenant to have access to the cloud-based resources inside of our Azure subscription. So that's something to remember. Let's get out of this PowerPoint presentation type thing and let's go ahead over to portal.azure.com where we do the fun stuff. You can follow along as we do just an easy lab that anybody can do at any skill level. If you don't already have an account, it's free, easy to sign in. We're going to go ahead and open up the Azure Active Directory. Go under Users. As you can see, you will already have a user here. The contractor you won't have. This is actually, let me delete this so it's not. Easy to delete users. And so you will have a user here by default, even if you never did it. And that is you. That is the global administrator. That's you. And here we have a lot of options. We can make a new user, new guest user. We can do bulk operations. bulk create, bulk invite, bulk delete. And if you do any of these options, you will see that with bulk, you can use a CSV file that will have properties of all the users. So let's say you're doing an Azure migration from on-premises to the cloud. You can download the CSV file from your Active Directory with a list of all the users you have and use that as a template whenever doing bulk operations to migrate them over to maybe Azure Active Directory. Some other features, we can do multi-factor authentication, we could do password resets here, we can preview information, preview features, provide some feedback, and for now, we're going to go ahead and create a new user. So we can do create user, or we can invite a guest to create that guest user. But for now, we're just going to do create user. Give it any name you want. I'm going to name my user Cameron. His name is Cameron too. And we can type in the real names and stuff like that, and even the domain name, but I'm just going to use the default. For password, you can create your own, or you can auto-generate and click show. So this password is caca. Anyways, we got groups and roles that we can add our user to, and we can create block sign-in settings. We can put in the usage location. Maybe he's from Algeria, so we could put in job title, department. So Cameron, let's say he can be in accounting. Great. Go to create, and now we've got Cameron here. Now that Cameron's been created, if we go into Cameron, we can see a whole load of identity properties that weren't available during creation. For example, we have the user principal name, which we actually set. That one. We have the user type, member, we have the source, we have the object ID, we have job information, we have settings, we have contact information for street address, state, or province. And if we go under authentication, there's different methods, like we could set up MFA here. For minors and consent, that's for you have some minors, some underaged employees, maybe an intern, and you want to block certain privileges. You can put them in an age group or consent provided or anything like that. And now we can go back into the users and we can delete this user, Cameron. Let's go ahead and delete him. Now Cameron isn't deleted yet because we do have kind of a recycle bin for deleted users. As you can see, the contractor that I deleted earlier, and then we got Cameron in here. So we have a deletion date when we deleted him, and we have a permanent deletion date of when it's automatically going to be deleted. And this is it's a safety net where we can go into here, we can restore users, we can bulk restore them, and we can delete them permanently too. But we're just going to go ahead and restore Cameron. And we'll go back to all users. Where's our Cameron? There he is. Took a couple seconds to go back in, but so there's Cameron, he's back. This time we're going to permanently delete Cameron. Let's go back here. Give it a moment, refresh it. Oh. Let's try that again. And I'm just going to permanently delete both of these users. So now they're permanently deleted. And let's go over the other ways of how we can do these kinds of things. So I'm going to open up this little icon up here. Let me make sure my face isn't blocking it. No, it's not. Okay. So right beside my face, there's a little icon. And this is called the Azure command line interface. In order to use this, we need a storage account and a resource group set up. So we can go under advanced settings. We can change the region. And the important thing is we need a resource group and a storage account. And I don't have any existing ones, so we can just type in a name. Test account create. And for the file share, again, we can just make a brand new file share. test files, and it's failed because I put in a capital letter here. So it doesn't like any numbers, it doesn't like any lower uppercase letters, it just only lowercase. That's it. And numbers. Now that our Cloud Shell is open, we can go ahead and type in Azure AD User create -h. And -h, let's go ahead and make this bigger. So -h just means help. And this gives us a list of all the different arguments and parameters that we can use in order to create our account the way we want to set it up. So, you know, here it shows display name. So we can type in Azure AD create -- display name. And here we can type in, you know, Muhyiddin. And then we could type in the password. And after that, put in, you know, cloud123. And if we hit enter, and it says error because it's not Azure AD create, it's Azure AD user create. And now it's saying that we need to provide a specific argument, which is the user principal name. Muhyiddin. And now it's showing us again a little bit of troubleshooting. So you must use one of the verified domain names in your organization. So, what does that mean? That means if I come back here, I can go under another user, and here I can find the domain name, and I can copy paste this, go back into our Cloud Shell, hit enter, and there we get this big block of JSON, similar to the one I just quickly wrote up in my PowerPoint. So here's account enabled true, age group not sure, assign licenses, all this stuff that we did not fill out. We didn't fill any of this stuff out except for the nickname, and we put in the object type, that's user. Here's the metadata, and essentially there's our user. And we can do the same thing if we go into PowerShell up here, or another way to do that is to type in pwsh. So that's all I wanted to talk about today, and I hope you found some value in what I had to say in my video, and I'd like to thank you for watching and see you on part 5.